Plus, new customers can save $25 when they switch today.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for following along with us. We will get you back into the Kouri Richins trial in just a moment. But first, we are in verdict watch in the hidden murder of Dee Warner trial. That one is where the jury, you see the clock there, has been deliberating for an hour and 15 minutes at this point. The defendant is Dee's husband, Dale. He faces life if he's convicted in her murder. She disappeared from her home back in April of 2021. Her body was found 3 years after her disappearance inside of a fertilizer tank on the couple's farm property. An autopsy revealed that she died of blunt force trauma and strangulation. We'll continue to monitor those deliberations and bring you the verdict when it happens. But for now, let's turn our attention back to Utah for more of the state's case in the Kouri Richins murder trial. She's accused of putting a lethal dose of fentanyl into her husband's cocktail back in 2022. And the state claims that the motive was money. But the defense alleges that no, Eric died because of some gummy that he ate that he thought was THC, but was actually laced with fentanyl. Now, today, one of Eric's friends testified that he had never known him to take any illicit or prescription drugs. On the stand right now is Chelsea Barney. She's a friend of the defendant. And right now we're listening to a recording that she made, but you hear the voice of Kouri and Eric's best friend. They are on the phone 2 weeks after Eric died, and Kouri is telling him about her shock that she had been written out of Eric's will. Let's pick it up where we left off.
But you also, no one's perfect. And I'd always tell him, like, dude, you need to relax a little bit. Like, it's funny that Saturday at your house where he was, like, taking anger management classes.
I think we're...
Your Honor, it's not published.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Okay. And we are now back scrolling correctly, it seems. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Just press play again, Scott. Thank you.
Actually trying to be better because fuck, the guy needed to do it, right?
No, and that's the thing, Bryce. Like, we were so good this last, 2 years. Like, we have been so good. Like Eric has been, he had an anger management book that he would write in, every couple of days. Like, it was in his nightstand. I'd come home from, work, and he was be out on the back deck, writing in his anger management book. And... you know, we were just good. I was going to counseling, he was doing anger management. We have been so good.
Right.
Everybody knew it. We were going on double dates. We were going out more. We did weekly date nights.
Right?
They did, and
it was Eric, when things were good between you guys, Eric wasn't calling me or anybody else, mostly Katie and Amy, right? Hey, Kouri did this awesome, she did this awesome, this is great, right?
Yeah.
He would only call the bitch about what you were doing, what you were doing, right? It's the negative shit, right?
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry. And I said, I wish we could have a lifeline to Eric right now, and because I know if he can talk, he would say, no.
Yeah. He would explain it.
Yes. He set things up to protect his kids, but he loved you all the time. Every day he told me, you know? And yeah, I said the other day, we all fight, but he'd always say, I love Kouri. She's the mother of my children. She's my wife. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm like, good for you, brother. That's what you have to do, right?
Well, yeah,
I just hate that you guys have to go down this route now because the things that Eric put into place with the lawyer.
And that was 2 years ago. Jesus Christ, we've come so far in 2 years, and it's shit. Last month we sat down and talked about every asset that we had, everything we had, and Eric was You know, like, he was just also taken by surprise. Like, he just was like, you know, that $250,000 is the best thing you've ever done. And I was like, I know, you just didn't believe in me. And, you know, and I was like, and now it all goes to our kids. Like, our kids are taken care of for life. Like, you know, and if everything is just so fucked up, like, it's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. And every day they're coming at me with something. Like, I'm getting charged with.
Your Honor, we approach.
Of course.
All right, a sidebar there. After the statement in that recording where she said, I'm being charged with assault. So not sure if that's something that one of these parties didn't expect to come out in the recording. Most likely an objection from the defense. So it looks like that sidebar has broken up and the recording should continue. Let's go back in.
Scott should just be able to press play. I believe so.
They have 4 charges against me right now. One is theft of trust property. One is
Do we want the instruction? Can I have a moment?
Of course.
All right, another sidebar there. Again, there seems to be an issue by the defense on some of the things coming out in this recording, which is surprising because they no doubt have a copy of this recording. They did object to it coming in. The judge did give a curative instruction to this jury that there are certain parts they are supposed to disregard, especially the other speakers in this. Not disregard, let me rephrase that they are not supposed to take what is being said as for the truth of the matter asserted, meaning they are not supposed to take it as actual fact, but rather be listening to how it impacts the defendant who is making that statement in this recording. And we've heard her really talking about her shock, her disappointment that Eric Richins' family is not allowing her to have any access to any of the assets after her husband's death. And she's really been complaining about the fact that they won't even give her the house, which is worth $3 million. It looks like that sidebar, which oddly enough, it appears that there's
Thank you for your
not
patience.
a lot of people from the defense that went up there.
You've just heard and may hear an additional reference or two by Ms. Richins in this recording to charges, quote unquote. Those references are to separate civil litigation regarding the trust, a civil lawsuit. They are not references to criminal charges of any kind. Moreover, you cannot consider those references to civil litigation to prove a character trait of the defendant or to show that she acted in a manner consistent with that trait at any time. Just wanted to make sure you had that important clarification. Ms. Lewis, anything further on that?
Not for now, thank you.
Mr. Blood?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Lewis, may we continue the recording?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Scott, go ahead, sir.
Theft of conversion. All this shit, and I'm like, Jesus, I haven't been in trouble since I was in high school. When I was 16 years old, for hell's sakes. I'm 32. Like, what do you mean I'm in? Do anything? You know, like.
I agree.
I don't know. Anyway, I meant to call you yesterday. I talked to the medical examiner. I called them because I don't believe that they don't have anything. I just am having a hard time believing that.
Yeah, what's taking so long?
Well, she said that, she's like, well, I'll have the actual doctor call you who did his autopsy. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so her name is Pamela Ulmer. And she called me a couple hours later. And I was like, look, lady, like, you got to have something for me. Like, there's no way you didn't notice something obvious. Like, Jesus Christ, 12 weeks, Yeah. And she was just like, well, yeah, there was something obvious, we noticed, but, we're not going to call you and tell you that immediately. And I was like, well, what? So they ruled out an aneurysm automatically. She's like, it wasn't. Yeah. She's like, it wasn't an aneurysm. I can tell you that. And she goes, he did test positive twice for bullshit. No. Which we did have COVID a month and a half ago. Like, we all tested positive, but that was like a month and a half ago. COVID.
Yeah, that was fucking, everybody had it in January.
Like we didn't still have COVID. And she was like, well, his lungs, he had a fungal infection in his lungs. Like, they were completely covered in white spots. She's like, and I don't know what it was. She's like, so I cut 3 of them out and sent them in for biopsies. She's like, but they were so full of fluid and blood. She's like, I have no idea yet what it is. She's like, so I'm thinking between the COVID and the fungal infection that it shut his lungs down. And I was like, no, like that, he is the healthiest. Like, he could, like, I was like, we just ran a half a marathon 6 months ago, and Eric didn't even train for it, and I did, and he beat me by 40 minutes. Like, no, there's nothing wrong with his lungs. Like, no, I don't believe that. And she got bitchy with me. And she's like, well, what do you mean no? And I was like, no, it's not COVID in his lungs. Like, there's just not. There's no way. And I was like, yeah, no offense. Like, my husband would roll over in his grave and haunt you and everybody involved if you put him down as COVID. We are very against COVID and vaccines. Like, nope, not happening. Like,
if it was COVID, there would have been signs of him.
Well, that's what I said. Yes, he wasn't sick. I was like, he was just at soccer the night before. I was like, he was at soccer the night before. He was running around. He wasn't sick. He was not sick. No, I don't buy that. Like, no. I was like, I will call you back in 2 weeks, because she said that she sent all of his organs out for testing, a toxicology report, blood, everything. And that's why it's going to take so long. And I was like, okay, well, I'll call you back in 2 weeks when you have more results, because that is not what it is. Like,
dude, the people who have died of COVID had symptoms before.
yes,
fucking overweight.
they were overweight. They were in the hospital, ICU. Like, he did not die of fucking COVID.
Of the night.
In the middle of the night. Like, I would have heard him get up, have a hard time breathing. Bryce, when I found him, he was in the exact same position as he was when he fell asleep. When I rolled over, when I got in bed with him at 3 a.m., like, he was in the same position as he was when I went to bed with him. Like, no, I don't buy it. Like, keep testing.
This is really interesting evidence inside of this courtroom. Hearing the defendant in her own words, not knowing that she's under this cloud of suspicion outside of the family. The family definitely suspected her, but she was not being arrested. The police were not calling her a suspect, and she is adamant that he didn't die naturally. It almost sounds like in this call, which actually would have been helpful if she is the one who did take his life. Let's get to our break. We'll have more of the audio from that call. Also, we'll talk about this case. Some woes for the pop singer Britney Spears. Under arrest is what the reports have been. We'll have the details on it when Court TV Live returns.
Weeknights on on Court TV.
I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. We have a big hour ahead here.
Your deplorable actions are unforgivable.
The community still doesn't know how this Boston police officer died.
He can't prove one element of his case.
It was a dramatic day, a dramatic moment inside the courtroom.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We'll get you back into the Kouri Richins trial in just a moment. We do want to give you an update on a couple of cases, including the one where it has been a verdict watch out in Michigan, the hidden murder of Dee Warner trial. Her husband, Dale, has been on trial, and his jury was deliberating today, an hour and 22 minutes. You see the clock has stopped because they've gone home for the day. So they'll pick things back up tomorrow with those deliberations, and we'll continue to follow that there. And also, here's a look at some of the other cases that we're tracking here at Court TV. In California, the Free Britney trend may have to get a revival. In California, Britney Spears was arrested late last night in Ventura County on suspicion of a DUI. Authorities say that the pop star was booked shortly after 3 a.m. and then later released around 6 this morning. In New York, an emotional visit to the Today Show studio for host Savannah Guthrie. It was the first time that she's been there amid her mom's abduction case. Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped more than a month ago, and then the Associated Press released images of Savannah hugging staff members during her visit today on the Today Show. A spokesperson tells TMZ that, quote, Savannah Guthrie stopped by the studio to thank her colleagues. While she plans to return to the show on air, she remains focused right now on supporting her family and working to still help bring Nancy home. And in Florida, a bond hearing for Mario Saldana, one of the suspects in the murder of Microsoft executive Jared Brightigan. The state argued that Saldana had motive and paid the shooter, and therefore his bond should be denied. However, the defense is arguing that he had no motive for having Brightigan killed. Ultimately, the judge didn't make a decision today and is having a return hearing next week. Saldana faces possible death sentence in the murder plot for hire once this goes to trial. For now, let's get you back inside of the Utah courtroom for the Kouri Richins murder trial. And we're listening to the defendant in her own words on a recorded call that she willingly recorded after the death of her husband, Eric. She's on the phone with his best friend. They're talking about the fact that her husband had written her out of the will, changed all of his life insurance policies 2 years before. So now that he died, she realized she didn't have access to any assets, and she's looking for an ally in this best friend. Let's pick it up where we left off with that recording being played in court.
COVID, I will, Jesus Christ, I will flip fucking shit. It's not COVID.
Yeah.
No. And so I was like, nope, I'll call you back in 2 weeks when you have some more results back, because that's not it. I was like, that guy was in better shape than anybody you could ever imagine. Like,
He didn't drink like we did?
he didn't drink. No, he didn't drink. He didn't smoke. I was like, literally, I trained for a half marathon for 6 months. He woke up that morning and decided he was going to run a half marathon and still beat me by 40 minutes.
Fucking hate that he can do that shit.
Yeah. But he still did it. Like, he had better lungs than anybody you would ever. No, it's not his lungs. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. So.
I wonder if that damn Lyme disease kicked his ass too.
Yeah. So she's wondering that too. So I gave her all of his Lyme disease doctor's information. So she was going to reach out to his Lyme disease doctor and contact them and see his last lab results and stuff. And then she was going to look into silicosis because Sylvie actually got cancer and stuff from silicosis, who's one of their main employees. 2 other of their employees, and then Shannon's brother, died of silicosis. But I was like, no, he doesn't have silicosis. Like, I just sent him in for testing 5 years ago, and his lungs were 100%. Yes. And I was like, trust me, my husband was 100% healthy 5 years ago. Like, his lungs were 100%, and he does not lay stone, nor does he cut it in the last 5 years. Like, he drives around in a truck, lady. Like, It's not, because she was like, what does he do for a living? And I told her, and I was like, but that's not it. Like, he owns a company. He doesn't cut it.
He's the owner. He's not the
employee cutter. He's not the main cutter by any means.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm just going to look into it. And I was like, okay, you can look into it if you want, but that's not it. And I was like, and it is not his lungs. Like, you have to go with something else. Like, I was pissed when she said that. I was like, he will roll over in his grave. You put him down for COVID. And so she was just, I don't know, kind of snippy after that.
Yeah, I'm sorry you have to go through this. I knew that this was going to get stupid, right? And
guys, I don't want anything.
I think you're doing the right thing, though, right? Like, you were married to Eric for almost 10 years. You knew the ins and outs of your relationship. I get Eric set things up legally with a lawyer to protect, the company. Right with you too. I get it.
Bryce, did you really think I was just gonna screw Eric and take everything he had? Like, why?
No, but he was worried about it, right? It's because, not saying you personally, but the media, right? Like, the wife takes her husband for everything he's got because he didn't do everything the right way, right? And I didn't ever talk about the ledge. He never told me exactly what he was doing. He told me what he was doing, right? And every time he'd tell me, like, oh, I went and saw the lawyer today, it was because I'm just getting everything set up because I don't want my kids to be homeless. I don't want them to be homeless.
Oh my God, yeah. I get it.
And I think if Eric was still here today, and I think he'd change it.
He would.
Unfortunately, it sucks he can't, right? And now Katie has all power. At least Katie has power, not Amy. Amy would probably be worse at it, but.
And it just hurt. I think it was most hurtful the way that he wrote it, Bryce. Like, if you read it, it was just so hurtful the way that.
Okay, we're hitting the pause button on this recording so we can bring in National Trial Attorney Michael Jafer, who is with us. Michael, thanks so much for being on. I can always count on you to see things from the defense perspective, even when it's difficult. And in this case, it does seem like the prosecution has overwhelming evidence against Kouri Richins. But I'm interested in what you think about that portion of this conversation. She is recording it, so she may be needing to sound a certain way. But she's talking freely with her husband's best friend, and she sounds like she is pushing for a cause of death. I'm just wondering if you're thinking, if she is the one who killed him, wouldn't she be ready for this medical examiner to say, sure, it's COVID. I heard him coughing. That's probably what it is. Let's put that down on the death certificate and keep it moving.
Yeah, the whole thing was completely bizarre because at the end of the day, she's clearly not singing for the cameras in the right way. Here's why I say that. She's completely stopped any approach that her attorneys would have that he was an unhealthy person or that he caused his own death. Maybe he did. Maybe he became unhealthy. Maybe he took substances. But at the end of the day, she's really drilling down that he was a very, very, very healthy person. Well, how do healthy people die, suddenly? Did they really, he would have had to really, really almost intentionally overdose himself or had his Moscow Mule spiked by somebody else. And the only person who had access to it was Kouri Richins. So at the end of the day, and the fact that this happened after he died and it was recorded, the whole thing just, she sounds like a complete moron to me. Based on the way you can see why the state wanted to prosecute her, because they really looked into this case and investigated it for years, and I could see what they were looking at, and they were rolling their eyes and saying, "There's no way she didn't do it."
All right, so the defense is also arguing that the family is who pushed for this prosecution. You are hearing that in this call, that she is feuding with the family and feels like they are railroading her. How do you think that's playing with this jury based on the call? Because we're getting to hear her voice.
Yeah, a lot of cussing based on the call. It looks to me like, listen, whenever somebody dies, their loved ones love them and they will blame somebody, and in this case they blamed her. So I think I don't know if that part of it for her is like the worst part, but his family clearly convinced the state to go after, because the family, you could hear the family in the room with the state attorney. Hey, she did it. We have this piece of evidence. We have that piece of evidence. Families of victims drive investigations. People don't understand how deeply investigations are driven by the family of the deceased. And so at this point, it is looking like a battle between her and his family. The civil suits were because of his family, and so obviously the family hated and despised her, and they detested her. So it's just not a good look for her overall, and she just looks kind of like a liar to me.
Oh, yeah, that civil suit came up, and the judge had to remind the jury, even though she was calling them charges for assault, forgery, and conversion, those were the civil cases. Great commentary. Thanks so much, Michael. Stand by. We've got to get to that break. When we come back, though, we're going to listen to more of that audio recording of the defendant, Kouri Richins, talking to her late husband's best friend. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Court TV Live. Let's get you back inside of that Utah courtroom. We're watching the trial of Kouri Richins. She's a mother of 3 who went for over a year after the death of her husband, not being arrested for his death. During that time, she wrote a book about grief to help her children cope with the loss of their father. And then she was arrested, saying, according to the prosecution, that she laced his drink with fentanyl to kill him, something that was found in his system. Her defense team has said that he must have taken a THC gummy that was laced with fentanyl. Inside, though, the courtroom, we're listening to a recording that Kouri Richins had done. She was talking to the best friend of her husband after his death, and they're discussing the fact that the autopsy report hasn't been done, and she doesn't believe that he died of anything like COVID because she says he was in better shape than she was. Let's listen in.
He wrote the trust. I get we were in a rocky spot 2 years ago. Did I ever think we would officially divorce and go about our ways? Really?
Hell, he thought that, right?
I guess.
You know, when he was seeing that stupid Jen chick, I would tell him, I'm like, bro, if you're gonna see her, there's gonna be consequences of getting caught. Do you want to be with this chick? Well, no. I said, well, then you gotta, because if you get caught, you're gonna get divorced. But then he gets caught, right? And then you kick him out of the house for a week or two. Then you go live with his dad for 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
But I think Eric was here I'd say it again. I think he changed it, but unfortunately he didn't. And now you're stuck in a hard place, right? To fight for your family, fight for what's yours. And the Richins family, not necessarily Gene. I think if Gene, I don't think he would be as ruthless as.
No, he's trying to stay neutral.
Yeah, and
it sucks.
From what I heard from Katie, Katie's like, she's like, I don't want Kouri and myself to go south, right? Or those 3 boys. Katie and I don't have a relationship, right? So we don't ever talk.
All she has to do is just, Bryce, give me my house. I don't make Eric money, but I make okay money. Just give me my house. They can have everything. Bryce, this is my home. I got married here.
Absolutely.
This is my baby. I brought my babies here. This is my home. They can have everything they want, but give me my house, for God's sake. Jesus.
What do they want? What does Katie want to do with it? Does she want to sell it?
No, I don't know. They just want it. They want the title in the trust's name, so I can't have control over it. And they won't figure anything out with it until they have the autopsy report. And when they said that, it broke me. I said, what does that mean?
Thinking that you had something to do with it.
Yeah, and I lost it. And I asked my attorneys, I said, I don't understand. What does that mean? And he was like, they think you had something. Jesus Christ. And he was like, they think that, and they reiterated it. And I was like, oh my God, what? And they're like, they're going with that, Kouri. They're on that level. And husband, for Jesus Christ's sake?
No, I've not heard that from any of those two, and nor have I thought that myself. Right?
Why? Like what?
Yeah, I would never. I mean, Kouri, we can all do a lot of things, and if you were gonna do it, you would have like shot him in his head.
Like 2 years ago.
Right?
Like 2 years ago.
Like years ago. I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't even know what that means. What? Like I gave him too much water? Like I don't even know. Like I drowned it. I don't know what that like. What?
Yeah.
And my attorney was. No. And he was like, Kouri, you need to lay low in your house for the next 3 months and not go anywhere. And I was like, are you serious?
That's wild.
And he's like, no, that's what they're attacking you with. And I was like, oh my God.
And they're coming after me as a mother.
Yeah, so, and then, yeah, that was the other thing is like, I fell. Bryce, I like fell to the floor.
They're not only coming after her with that, but they're coming after her with being a mother.
I didn't ask Bryce to write a letter. Bryce, I asked everybody else to write a letter from that night because Amy said I was an incapable mom and that I was so drunk that night she had to care for my kids. And I couldn't care for my own kids. I love to drink. You know that, right? Like everybody knows it. I love to drink.
Yeah.
I have never been in a position ever that I could not take care of my own children. Ever. Like, and remember Amy took video? She showed her attorney those videos and said, look, Kouri's partying all night. She's not a grieving wife. She's not a capable mother.
Jeez.
She showed those videos to their price. Like,
I mean, just
So
because
she showed them with your pants off, Bryce.
also, you didn't have any pants on, Bryce. You didn't have any pants on.
Well, anybody who knows our guy relationship, my pants are never on.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, we were just like, it was just a celebration of life. Like, it was like.
I agree.
Why did you do that? Why did you do that?
I can't speak for those two girls. I don't know. I don't know what makes them think, right? You know, they lose their brother, but at the same time, do you really want to lose?
I lost my husband. I lost my kids' dad. And you're going to submit videos and say that I'm an incompetent mom? Like, what? It's not fair. It's just one fair. And I said, you guys can have money. Have all the money he had. I don't care.
Hopefully when that autopsy chick comes back, they can stop being thinking. It rules out that there's no foul play. Which
but that's the thing. Like it's so hurtful. It's so hurtful that there's a decision regarding the autopsy.
They wouldn't even think that.
You know, it's like you're wanting an autopsy to make decisions. So like what? Like
wow, what do you know who I am?
I mean, it's just like it's just.
I just don't get it, you know. I just don't get it.
Well, they're going down a slippery slope, right? Because I mean, you are the mother of those three.
Almost hard to hear. I don't know how bad it is for the jury because of the pitch of Kouri Richins in some of those moments where she's getting very emotional. We got to get a break, so we'll hit the pause button on that audio recording. Important evidence coming inside of the courtroom with the witness on the stand being one of the good friends of the defendant. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Court TV.
This is the story of the Richins. Eric, a father of 3, met an untimely end. And Kouri, his widow, wrote a children's book on grief.
She's also charged
now with his murder. He was faced with betrayal and terror.
I know her innocence.
Is their story a tragic romance?
Or a twisted tale of grief?
The truth will come out.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
We are in Utah watching together the Kouri Richins trial. Grief Author Murder Trial is what we've dubbed it, and we're listening to a particular witness on the stand who is able to share this recording that she did for her friend. This is not too long after the death of Eric Richins, the victim in this case. And in this recording, they have made a phone call to Eric's best friend. And Kouri is telling him about how hard it's been because Eric's family has been keeping her away from the assets and telling her she can't stay in her home. And he, for the most part in this call, is on her side. Let's listen.
I want to have any relationship with you and those 3 kids. This is not how you start out the relationship.
No, and well, she's crying right now. What? You what? Hold on, Bryce. What?
Can you come look at my photo baby? We have to wait for one to come and ask you.
Okay, like 2 minutes, okay? Okay.
Okay, go on for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, go lay on the couch then. I don't know what you're saying. Go lay on the couch. Okay, go downstairs. 2 minutes. Like, it's just like kind of crazy.
Yeah. It sucks it has to be this way.
I mean, it's like, it's kind of like neither of them, like not even, like I'm not even just speaking for Kouri, but like Katie and Amy cannot grieve for anything because all 3 of them are concentrated on fighting against what Eric has. And that's, you know, it's just kind of like that's all they're concentrated on. And we're like, I don't know. Like, and I mean, I've seen this. Like, it happened with my dad and his uncles when my grandparents died. Like, everyone fights against money. It always happens with death. Always. Like, there's no fight.
Yeah, it happened with Eric and Julie.
Yes, exactly. It happened with Eric and Julie. Like, that happened. It happened with Linda. It happens all the time with death. Every single time.
Yeah.
And like that sucks, but at the same time, it's like
I'm not
Eric
fighting for it.
No,
I'm giving it to them.
No,
like,
Eric, like Kouri's, but Eric left behind like a family that he took care of. Like, how much of Eric's wealth went to Amy and Katie?
I don't think any of it did it.
Exactly.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why are they fighting for this when they, like, all of Eric's wealth, all of Eric's,
Somebody's here.
It's Selma probably. All of Eric's wealth, all of Eric's, like, but all of Eric's wealth and everything went to his family.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Guys, they can.
I don't think. No, I'm not speaking for him. I haven't spoken to him about it, right? But I'd be hard pressed to feel that they want Eric's money. Because Eric always, I mean, I thought he had it all set up anyway to go to the kids, right? All this stuff went to his kids.
No, it does. It goes to the kids, but the house also, but the house one goes to the kids until they're 18. So that's what Kouri is fighting
like
for.
I'm like, they're acting like I'm some snake, Bryce. Like I'm some. I don't get it. They can have it. Take it all. Take it all.
So just what Kouri's saying, like what the attorney said, like everything goes to the kids. The kids are set up for life. The kids are completely.
All right, inside of the courtroom, that's actually the end of what they show this jury. And they don't have any more questions for the witness on the stand, and the defense doesn't cross her. So before we get you to the next witness, let's quickly bring in attorney Michael Jafer, who is watching along as well. Michael, you had a really good question about who this recording helps and who it serves.
Yeah, I'm befuddled. This was a gamble by the state because they allowed the defendant now to testify in front of the jury without being open to cross-examination, and she has drilled into the state into the jury's mind that I didn't want anything, I didn't want any money, they could have everything, I don't know why they're coming after me. And by the way, he was very healthy. I loved him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all she had to do was flip one juror on reasonable doubt as to whether or not she intended to spike his Moscow Mule and kill him. All she had to do was jump one juror. And I think that these recordings helped her get at least 1 or 2 jurors on the fence as to whether or not she had a financial motive. So I think this was a risk by the state. It was a gamble by the state. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this was a gamble by them.
And it speaks volumes, perhaps, that the defense didn't cross this witness at all, so they were fine with how everything came out. Let's get to the next witness a few minutes before we have to go to another break. The next witness for the state of Utah. Let's watch.
Do you know Kouri Richins?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
we
I do.
record everything, so
Yes,
I saw
do.
that you were nodding, but how do you know Kouri Richins?
We grew up together, school.
When did you first meet her?
I met her in, I think, junior high school.
Since junior high school, about how often do you see or speak with her?
I talk to her pretty frequently.
Are you one of her best friends?
Yes. Yeah. I was, yeah.
You were?
I am, yes.
Either way?
Yes.
Okay. Did you and Kouri Richins attend a Finding True Self retreat at the Sedona Mago Center for Wellbeing in Arizona in February of 2021?
Yes, we did.
As a part of that retreat, did each of you complete an assignment in which you wrote your life story in third person?
Yes, we did.
Scott, can I get Exhibit 2-4, please? Can you scroll through for the witness and counsel? Ma'am, do you recognize that as the form that you and Kouri Richins filled out during the retreat?
Well, I never read it at the retreat, but that's the Sedona Manga logo, yes.
And is that Kouri Richins' handwriting?
Yes, to my knowledge.
Your Honor, the state moves to admit Exhibit 2-4 and publish.
Your Honor, we'd renew our prior objections, 401, 402, and 403. I'm not sure that there's enough foundation at this point to put it in through this witness. She said she never saw it at the time, and I don't know if there's enough foundation about the handwriting at this point.
The 401, 402, 403 issues have been ruled on by the court. The court stands on its prior denial of those objections. Mr. Bloodworth, talk to me about foundation.
All right, while they deal with that, let's slip in our break, and when we come back, we'll have more of that testimony. Our thanks to Michael Jafer for joining us tonight. More of the Kouri Richins murder trial when we come back. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, and we are bringing you day 9 of testimony in the Kouri Richins murder trial unfolding in Utah. Her husband, Eric, died of a fentanyl overdose back in March of 2022. And prosecutors say that that overdose happened because she laced his cocktail with the drug. But the defense says he died from an overdose because he intentionally ate a gummy that had fentanyl in it. Now, friends of the victim and the defendant have been testifying today that they never saw Eric take prescription or illicit drugs. We want to get you back inside the courtroom now. Another friend is on the stand, this one of Kouri Richins, and she's talking about a story that they wrote when they were younger.
Question a little bit.
Yeah.
Over the years, have you read Kouri Richins' handwriting?
Yes and no. I'm mainly through text, but yes.
Are you generally familiar, though, with her handwriting script-wise?
Not comfortably enough to identify it, no. But it looks like her handwriting, yes.
And is that, Scott, can you go to the top? That logo at the top, is that consistent with the form that each of you individually filled out while at the Sedona Mago Retreat Center?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves 2-4 into evidence.
Your Honor, we object. She said she's not comfortable enough to identify her handwriting, and she never saw Kouri write this or saw it at the time it was done.
Counsel, would you approach for a second?
Okay, we got to recap the backstory on why this moment in time is so important. This is not just a murder trial. The defendant is also charged with forgery, with signing different documents, with writing different things that ultimately resulted in fraud when it came to her husband's estate before he died. And so in order to determine handwriting, whether she's the one who wrote certain things, you have to bring in a handwriting specialist or analyst. And some of the best testimony comes from someone who personally knows their handwriting. So this witness is being asked about, first of all, she has known the defendant since middle school, and they've written things together. She understands her handwriting, but it may throw a wrench in things since she's on the stand saying though she is familiar with her handwriting, she doesn't feel comfortable identifying it, which is key. And now they're at that sidebar, no doubt discussing it, because the defense is saying this has to be disregarded. She cannot go forward with an identification of handwriting if she is saying she's not comfortable with it. I'd be curious to know what she said, perhaps in a deposition, what has happened prior to this, where the state, rather, still felt comfortable putting her on the stand and asking her the pointed question about handwriting. She might have been a subpoenaed witness, someone who had to come in despite seeming to still have a relationship with the defendant. When she was asked how often she talks to her, it seemed like she's still talking about in the present, that she talks to her often. But this is the second friend in a row of Kouri Richins that we've seen on the stand having to bring in certain information. The last witness who was on the stand was someone who brought in a recording that she did for Kouri, really trying to help her with this civil case that was being brought against her by Eric Richins' family. So as that sidebar continues and we see everyone there in the courtroom just waiting for what is going to be the decision of the court when it comes to whether or not this exhibit can come in, which seems to have the handwriting of the defendant, but getting it to match perhaps something else is what this witness appears to be brought in to identify.
Mr. Bloodworth, the state's motion to admit State's Exhibit 2-4 is denied at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. We'll revisit it. Thank you. Ma'am, are you familiar with Kouri Richins' house flipping business?
Yes.
How so?
We were going to hire her to do work for us. Me and my kid's dad.
And did you understand it was a successful business?
I did. I believed it to be, yes.
Did you know whether or not the business was in any financial distress?
No, I did not.
Ma'am, are you familiar with Josh Grossman?
Yes.
How so?
I knew that he was... what do you mean?
Do you know who Josh Grossman is?
Yes, I know of him, yes.
How do you know of him?
Kouri told me about him.
What did Kouri say about him?
She said that they were having an affair.
And when did she tell you this?
It was about June 2020.
Did she tell you the status of that affair when she spoke to you in June 2020?
Can you clarify?
Was it ongoing at the time?
Yes, it was ongoing.
Did she ever tell you that the affair was broken off?
She did.
When did she tell you the affair was broken off?
My last visit prior to Eric passing, she told me that she'd ended things with Josh and chose her family. It had been over for about 9 months at that point.
And was that last visit you had with Eric Richins on the weekend of February the 20th, 2022?
Yes, I believe so.
And she said then that she had broken it off 9 months earlier.
Yes.
Your Honor, may we just approach briefly to make sure we have a common understanding?
Yes.
All right, another sidebar as they are going methodically and slowly through the testimony of this witness who, again, seems to be aligned with the defendant still. And a key decision by the judge there, you heard that he granted the objection of the defense, so actually denying the state's motion to get this exhibit in that would go to the handwriting, and they said they'll address it at another time. So seeming to signal that they have another witness who's going to be able to help them with the handwriting element of this case. Let's go in. That sidebar is broken up.
Mistaking on that visit you mentioned, the weekend of February 20th, 2022. Did there come a time when you, Kouri Richins, Eric Richins, and maybe others, were having a conversation about Eric Richins becoming ill on Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Who was present for that conversation?
Myself, Kouri, Eric, Selma, and Wade, our other friends.
How did that conversation arise?
What do you mean?
Who started it?
I can't remember who started the conversation.
How did you come to learn about whatever happened on Valentine's Day?
Eric told us.
What did Eric Richins say?
He said that he thought that Kouri had tried to poison him, but it was more of a funny story. It was like an allergic reaction is what we had thought it was.
So Eric jokingly, I want to accurately capture.
We were laughing at the story.
So did Eric,
along with Eric.
Right. Did Eric jokingly say that Kouri Richins had tried to?
Yes, and we all teased Kouri for trying to kill him or poison him or whatever he thought it was.
Okay. How did Kouri Richins react to Eric Richins jokingly say that she tried to poison him on Valentine's Day?
She laughed about it. We were all laughing.
Did she say anything about what happened on Valentine's Day?
She said no, that's not what happened, that he had, that it was an allergic reaction or something, or it wasn't that dramatic, it didn't happen like that. Something along those lines.
Did she say how it happened or what happened?
No, not that I can recall.
Just that it didn't happen as Eric jokingly said it happened?
No, but with Eric right there.
Sure. Eric's there the whole time?
Yes.
Understood. Your Honor, I hate to keep doing this. I just want to bring up one other thing at the bench.
No, it's better.
Okay.
Another sidebar. So let's grab a sidebar with our guest who is standing by. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Silva Megerditchian with us. Silva, tell me what you think about the case so far, because we're at an interesting juncture. We've got these two friends on the stand. We just heard from Kouri Richins in her own words on this recording. And now is a friend who's saying, I can't even confirm her handwriting, which I feel like is something that could be considered being in the corner of the defense.
Julia, it's funny, right? Like, and you said it best last hour, too. I'm not sure where this is going. It almost seems like maybe the DA's a little bit overdoing it, because these two friends, I don't know who they're really helpful for. You know, they're joking about poisoning. No, it was an allergic reaction. Obviously, Kouri's husband at that time didn't take it seriously. He was making light of the situation, not showing that the victim here was petrified of his wife. I'm not sure what the effectiveness of this testimony is, but it's exactly what you stated last hour. It takes one juror to go, wait a second, this doesn't feel like a woman who wants to kill her husband, right? It feels like maybe something else was going on. Is there reasonable doubt here? But Julia, I will tell you, the testimony that did it for me yesterday was the ex testifying. You know, Kouri's reactions to his testifying, I thought was really negative. And again, those infamous Google searches, I think the circumstantial evidence and the motive here is so big that the prosecutors don't have to do that much. So I feel like this is a little bit, and don't mind the pun here, but it feels a little overkill from the prosecutors that might actually allow one of the jurors, if not more, to have a little twinge of reasonable doubt.
Yeah, because we're getting further and further away from those Google searches where she was wanting to know, what happens if police catch you doing something, or what prisons might be luxury long before she was arrested. You mentioned the ex on the stand yesterday and how compelling his testimony was. Who did you think it helped the most? Because he was very emotional, and you mentioned that her reaction was negative. Tell me more about what you observed.
You know, I found it, and I know the viewers think the same. Court TV's viewers are insanely amazing at this and catching. But when he put his head down and he was crying, I noticed Kouri was almost, and her reactions have been really appropriate. I've said it before. You know, the camera's on her the whole time, and she's been very good at her reactions and having no reactions, being stoic. But when this gentleman, who's, by all accounts, very good looking, he's testified very well. When he put his head down and he's crying, and she covered her face, you could see a little bit of a smile, almost like laughing at him, like, why is he doing this? He's like you could just tell she was sarcastic and downplaying the emotion. Look, she's on trial for murder of her husband. You don't expect these kinds of reactions from an innocent person fighting for their life, right? I think really her defense attorney should have told her, make no reaction. This is not where you react in a negative way, almost making fun of his testimony. I think he was incredibly believable, very reasonable. I do think it hurt her in many different ways that leave in the jurors' minds, she had incentive to really hurt her husband and be with the man that she truly loved. Those text messages where she's constantly, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. It said a lot, Julia. It was a big day yesterday, and I was riveted to the testimony.
I agree. It was riveting, and I've noticed some of those smirks sometimes at seemingly inappropriate times. So don't know if that's just a reaction that she has that she can't help, or if it is something that the jury is noticing and maybe taking it in a negative light. Silva, thank you for that analysis. Stand by. We've got to get to our break, but we do first want to give our viewers an update out of California. A sentencing happened today in this case that we covered, the cosmetic filler child killer case for Maya Hernandez. She pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter after leaving her children in a hot car to visit a medical spa. And today, a judge sentenced her to 15 years in prison. However, the victim's paternal grandmother believes that sentence was not enough.
15 years doesn't seem like enough. In the eyes of the law, a number has been assigned to this tragedy, but in my eyes and in the eyes of a father who had to visit his son in a cold grave, it is not enough.
Her sentencing was done in line with the deal that she reached with prosecutors. This comes after a mistrial. The jury couldn't reach a unanimous verdict on second-degree and involuntary manslaughter murder charges. She was arrested back in June of 2025 for leaving her 1-year-old and her 2-year-old children in a car on a hot day. 1-year-old Emilio Gutierrez was pronounced dead at the hospital with an internal temperature of 107 degrees. The older child did survive and was placed in protective custody. We'll get to that break now. When we come back, more testimony from that friend on the stand in the Kouri Richins trial in Utah.
This is the story of the Richins. Eric, a father of 3, met an untimely end, and Kouri, his widow, wrote a children's book on grief.
She's also charged now with his murder.
He was faced with betrayal and terror.
I know her innocence.
Is their story a tragic romance?
Or a twisted tale of grief?
The truth will come out.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
It's a day of friends on the stand in the Kouri Richins trial. Day 9 there in that case in Park City, Utah, where she's on trial for the death of her husband, Eric Richins. Her defense team says this was an accidental or self-inflicted type of death, but the prosecution says this was murder. Let's go back inside of the courtroom now. We've been listening to testimony from another friend of Kouri Richins, someone who's known her since junior high, who's already said she doesn't know her handwriting enough to help the prosecution in their analysis of her friend's handwriting, but she is being asked other questions about what she remembers during the time that her friend was having some issues with her husband.
We've agreed that I'm going to handle this witness as a direct examination since she's here from out of town, so we don't have to bring her back.
Sounds good.
All right.
I appreciate it. Please proceed.
Morning or good afternoon. Oh. Who knows anymore? How are you today?
I've been better.
I'm sure you have.
Allie, will you do me a favor? I'm sincere. You can sit wherever you like. You just pull the mic closer. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Allie, my name's Wendy Lewis. I know we've spoken, but we haven't met before, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I want to talk about, you knew Kouri, you said, since junior high.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And did you do things with her and Eric as couples, or with also your children as families?
Both. We did things with our families as well.
All right. And did you go on a trip to Hawaii together?
I did.
And when was that trip to Hawaii?
I think it was early 2018.
Early 2018?
Yeah. February, I think.
Okay. And what was the purpose of that trip?
Our friend was getting married.
Which friend was that?
Selma.
Selma. Okay. And did something happen on that trip that Kouri was upset about?
Could you clarify?
Did something happen in terms of the travel to Hawaii?
Yes.
And what was that?
Kouri found out that Eric had hidden drugs in her suitcase without telling her.
Okay. And what was it that he put in the suitcase?
Gummies.
And was she upset about that?
Yes. Yes. We were laughing. Yeah. She wasn't crying upset. It was more or less a funny story, but not so funny.
Not so funny story. Mm-hmm. And I mean, is it fair to say she was not happy?
No, she was not okay with it.
Okay. And what was Eric Richins' reaction? You don't have to get into what he said, but how did he react to Kouri not being happy with him?
He thought it was hilarious.
He thought it was hilarious that he'd put...
Yes, his thinking was...
THC in her bag.
Yes.
Okay, no, that's... I'm just clarifying. You're fine.
Mm.
Okay. Now, you said that you were visiting... and you're from California, right?
Yeah. Yes,
you're living in California now.
Yes.
To be more accurate.
And you were visiting here about a month, a little less than a month, 3 weeks before Eric died, correct? Or is that right?
Yes.
All right. And during that trip, you just talked about some things that happened during that trip when you were staying with the Richins. Did you take THC gummies with them at that time?
Not on that trip, I didn't.
Not on that trip?
I don't believe so, no. No, Eric didn't want me to.
Why didn't Eric want you to? Do you know why?
Yes, he said that he...
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you, without...
Sustained regarding calling for hearsay. Can you rephrase, Ms.
Yes. All right. So you discussed taking gummies.
We did.
All right. And there was a concern about taking them. Is that fair?
Yes.
And why was there a concern about taking those?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Would maybe just ask her why she didn't do something or what her concerns were.
All right. Why did you decide not to take the gummies?
I was told they were bad gummies, that they made Kouri super sick.
Okay. Are you aware where those gummies came from?
No, I wasn't aware.
All right. Now, you had taken gummies, THC gummies, with the Richins in the past.
Yes.
And where originally, you don't have to tell me who, but where were those gummies purchased from?
Well, I was never with him when he got them, but I knew it was from a...
Objection, Your Honor.
Foundation?
Foundation.
Okay.
All right.
Sustained.
You had taken gummies with the Richins in the past.
Yes.
And so had some of your other friends. It was something that you all did occasionally, just like having a drink. Fair?
Fair.
All right. And you are you aware of, well, let me rephrase that. Were you all getting these gummies from the same source originally?
Objection, Your Honor.
Pause for one moment. I need a reason.
Foundation.
Okay. Would you please lay some foundation for whether and to what extent this witness knows about the source of anything that she took?
All right. Again, you were all getting gummies from the same source, right?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
I need you to lay some foundation, not
I'm
just
working
ask
on
the
it.
same question. Just break it down.
Do you know where, are you aware, do you know where you and your friends were getting the THC gummies from?
It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
You are aware? Okay. And for a time period, you were getting them from one particular person, isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the time period that you were getting them from that person?
What do you mean?
Like,
Yeah.
Was it from 2018 to 2021? Was it from, can you give me a general time for how long of a time?
Would you pause there for one moment? Your objection, Mr. Bloodworth.
Your Honor, objection, foundation, particularly as it relates to whether or not hearsay is the foundation.
Right. Ms. Lewis, my apologies. Would you approach for 1 second?
You'll give me a cue if you're coming out to me. Thanks. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll have more of this witness on the stand who's actually testifying as a direct examination witness for the defense so that they don't have to call her back again once they get to their case. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are continuing our coverage of the Kouri Richins murder trial happening out in Utah, where it's day 9 of the state's case. But right now inside of the courtroom, something a little bit different happening. The defense is doing a direct examination of a state witness. We already heard this witness talk about her relationship with the defendant, the fact that she remembers their joke that the husband who died, Eric Richins, the victim in this case, he joked with his wife about her trying to kill him on Valentine's Day of 2022. He would pass away suddenly in March of 2022. Let's go back into this defense direct examination, and it's direct because they don't have to stick to what the state said in their direct examination. That would be the parameters of cross. Let's listen to what they have to say. They've been bringing up these THC gummies that Kouri wasn't happy about her husband using.
Let me just back up. You said you were aware that they were all coming from the same person.
It's a yes or no.
Yes. How are you aware of the person that was providing them?
Can you be a little bit more specific?
How were you aware where the gummies were coming from?
That's the same question.
Yeah, I know. Were you ever there when the gummies were purchased or brought or delivered? You were never there?
No.
All right. Did you ever purchase them yourself?
No.
Right. So, can you tell me how you knew? Let me just come out. So did someone tell you where the gummies were coming from, or did you have personal knowledge of where the gummies were coming from?
I was told where they were coming from.
All right. Okay. How was it that you found out that Mr. Richins had died?
Our friend Kelsey called me.
Called you?
Yes, I was called on the phone.
Yes. And was that the day that Mr. Richins passed away?
Yes.
All right. And what did you do when you found out?
I cried.
And then what did you do?
And then booked a flight and came the very next day.
All right. So you arrived?
I arrived on the 5th.
On the 5th. All right. And how did Kouri seem when you arrived?
Distraught. Like she was grieving.
And you've known Kouri a long time?
Yeah.
And you've observed her on other occasions where she's been upset?
Yes.
Ever anything this traumatic, or was this the first time?
This is probably the most traumatic one I've experienced so far, yes.
All right. Did anything about her behavior or her reaction strike you as unusual?
No.
Were you there when there was a celebration of life held at the Richins house the night after he died?
Yes.
And how many people were there at that event?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. There was a lot of people.
More than 10?
Well, there were people coming in and out the whole time.
All right. Was this something that was planned, like a planned event?
No.
All right. So it was, can you just describe sort of how it started?
People came to show their condolences and grieved at the loss of losing Eric. That's how it began. That's all it was.
All right. And was there alcohol?
Yes.
What else took place at the event? What were people doing? They were drinking?
We were playing with the kids and talking about memories of Eric.
All right.
Dancing, talking about him, remembering him.
Okay. Would you describe it as an upbeat, happy event?
It was kind of, I don't know. It wasn't a party, if that's what you were trying to ask.
Okay. What would you describe it as?
Remembering his life.
All right. Can you pull up Defense Exhibit 1089, just for the witness? Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, I took the picture.
All right. And was that taken the night that we were talking about?
Yes.
And do you recognize the people in that photo?
I do.
All right. Could we publish, or could I admit and then publish? Defense 1089.
No objection.
Okay. Defense 1089 is admitted.
Okay. And maybe if you want to step down just for a minute, if you could tell us who the people are in this photo.
I'd rather not.
If you would just stay close to a mic.
I know.
And
I just realized I didn't have one on.
Here you go, Allie. If you'd use that when you... Ms. Lewis, you should get near a mic.
All right. Just from left to right, can you tell us who's in the photo?
That's Kouri. I can't remember his name, but that's Eric's best friend.
Can we put the mic up?
That's Eric's best friend. I can't remember his name.
Is that Bryce?
Yeah, that's Bryce. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, that's Bryce. That's Allie, Cody's wife. That's Chelsea, and that's Amy.
Amy?
Eric's sister.
Richins. Okay. You can sit back down. We can take that down. So how long did you stay after Eric passed away?
I stayed overnight that night.
Were you there the next day when Amy Richins came to the house?
Yes, I was.
All right. And were you there when Kouri was trying to get into a safe that belonged to Eric?
I was.
Do you know why Kouri was trying to get into the safe?
Excuse me, yes.
Why was she trying to get into the safe?
She wanted to see what his will said.
And did she know the will was in the safe, or do you not know?
No, she knew it was in there.
All right. And then what happened?
What do you mean, what happened?
Well, was she able to get into the safe?
She was not. She didn't know the code.
And then was there a conversation about her not getting into the safe?
Objection, Foundation, as it relates to hearsay.
All right. Who was present when she was trying to get into the safe?
She wasn't even in there at first.
When you say she, who are you talking about?
Kouri wasn't even in there. It was...
Who was in there at first?
Her brother and the locksmith.
Okay, so a locksmith was called to try and open the safe?
Yes.
All right. And then what happened after that, Court?
Amy and Bryce were leaving, and Amy saw the logo on the side of the truck and ran into the garage to stop Kouri from getting into the safe.
Do you know why she was trying to stop Kouri from getting into the safe?
Because Amy was...
Foundation.
Yeah. It's speculation. How?
Well, if she knows why.
But how she knows is the genesis of the foundation and speculation objections.
You were there, correct?
I was.
And you saw the reactions of everyone in the room.
I did.
And you saw Kouri become very upset. Did you see Kouri become very upset?
I did.
Do you know why Kouri was upset?
Yeah, because she was told that it was not
Objection.
her.
If you'd stop there, calls for hearsay. Sustained.
You did see Kouri's reaction.
I did.
To not being able to get into the safe. Let me rephrase that. You saw Kouri's reaction based on what was going on regarding the safe.
I did.
And you saw her, well, tell me, what was her reaction?
Pure frustration and rage.
Rage?
Yeah.
Was she crying?
Yes. She was shaking.
And in your opinion, was that reaction over the top?
No, I thought she was valid.
Did you think she was unreasonably out of control?
No.
Was that reaction unexpected, given what was going on in the room?
No.
Okay. Just one moment. All right, if I just have a moment.
Of course.
You know, the defense is really taking control of things there inside of the courtroom. It's their narrative that's taking center stage through this unusual direct examination of a state witness during the state's case. Let's get to a break, and when we come back, we will have more of the Kouri Richins murder trial happening out there in Park City, Utah. Don't go anywhere.
Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as widow and victim while trying to profit from a book about his death. I never knew evil like this existed.
The Grief Author Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Weeknights at 8/7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Let's go back inside that Utah courtroom where a friend of Kouri Richins is on the stand answering questions by the defense.
I did forget something. Let's go back to what you were talking about with Mr. Bloodworth regarding the sandwich. So when you were there, you said that Eric said, what did Eric say to you again about the sandwich?
Can you clarify the question, please?
Yes, you were talking about when Eric got sick from a sandwich, right? You talked about that with Mr. Bloodworth.
I did.
And he told you, what did he tell you?
That he believed that Kouri had tried to poison him.
Okay. Did he tell you, I believe Kouri tried to poison me, or did he say to you, did Kouri tell you she tried to poison me?
No. He said, he said Kouri tried to poison him.
All right, and who was there? Kouri was there?
Yes.
And what was her response to that?
She was laughing and she said that's not what happened.
And what did happen?
I don't know what happened.
Well,
he took a bite of the sandwich and got an allergic reaction and had to shoot himself with an EpiPen.
Okay, so they talked about that there was an allergic reaction.
Yes.
Was everyone laughing?
Yes, we were all laughing and we jokingly said, don't eat what Kouri feeds you.
Okay, and did Eric appear upset about what had happened prior with the sandwich?
No.
Did he seem scared about what had taken place?
No.
How are he and Kouri getting along when you were there that last visit?
They seemed better than I'd seen them in a long time.
Okay. And with that, I have nothing further.
Okay. Mr. Bloodworth, any additional questions for Ms. Staking?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ma'am, let me make sure I understand the travel to Hawaii. Am I right that it was funny at the time because Kouri did not get caught with the gummies in her luggage, but it would have been less than funny if she had got caught? Is that the joke?
Speculation.
Overruled.
Could you ask that again?
You said they were, Eric and you and Kouri and everybody were joking about Eric putting weed gummies in Kouri Richins' luggage. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is the joke that it was funny because she didn't get caught?
No, it was funny because she didn't know.
I see. Okay. Can we turn to the gathering on March the 5th, 2022, right? The day after Eric Richins' death?
Okay.
And you and others, many friends of Eric, some of Eric's family members, I think were there, right?
Yes.
And people were drinking and toasting Eric.
Yes.
People were also using weed gummies that night, too, as well?
I don't know. Not that I'm aware of.
That photo you showed, or you looked at, it was labeled Exhibit 1089. That was at the beginning of the evening?
No, that was towards the end. It was I don't know. It was mid-evening.
Okay, there came a time, right, when Mr. Knutson removed his pants?
Sorry, who?
Do you know who Bryce Knutson is, the
I
guy
know
in that photo?
Bryce. I don't know his last name.
Okay, did there come a time when he removed his pants at that celebration?
Not that I remember, but probably.
Okay. Do you remember if the photo was before or after that?
It was before he was dressed.
Scott, can I get Exhibit 8-8, please?
The witness can see it.
Ma'am, do you recognize that photo, or that video rather, as an accurate depiction of what was occurring in parts of that evening?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state's going to move 8-8 into evidence, but ask the court not to publish it. What the state's going to do is prepare a vision of that blurs out the face of any children, and then publish that to the jury at a different time.
Ms. Lewis?
No objection.
Okay. The forthcoming version of 8-8 that blurs out any minor children is admitted. We'll publish it later.
Thank you, sir. Scott, can you bring up 8-8 Delta 2, please?
Are you able to see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this supposed to be moving, Scott?
Your Honor, it's not. It is a still frame from that video. The state moves 8-8 D2 into evidence.
Ms. Lewis?
No objection.
Okay. 8-8 D2. You're going to mark this later with a sticker?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Is admitted. Would you like to publish?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you. Your Honor, may we approach to have a common understanding on something?
Sure.
Again, they've had to be very careful with this witness, going through different things, making sure that they check with the judge before they ask a question, because they don't want that question to be said in front of the jury and then it become a big problem or a mistrial. Let's go back in.
For this witness.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Just going back to the night of the wake.
Mm-hmm.
And have you been to wakes before?
Yeah.
Or was that your first one?
No, I've been to wakes before.
And was anything about this unusual to you?
No.
This is how you've seen people at other wakes right after a loved one had died. Fair?
Yeah.
Was
Yes.
Kouri happy that night?
No, we were trying to be happy for the kids. We were trying to stay positive and keep it light.
Okay, so
for her kids.
And that's fair. And you said you spent the night at the house.
I did.
Who else spent the night at the house that night? Do you know?
Yes, Amy did, and so did Bryce, and I believe Chelsea did as well.
Okay, so just the four of you. Other adults went home. Then the kids were there.
Yeah. Yes, and the kids were there.
Do you recall that Kouri left that event early to go to bed with one or more of the children?
No, I don't recall.
You don't recall that?
No.
Okay. All right. I have nothing further.
No, Your Honor.
Counsel, may we release this witness?
Yes, we may.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I appreciate it.
All right, that witness is done. Let's bring back in Silva Megerditchian, who is watching with us. Silva, what do you think about her testimony? Better for the state or the defense?
Oh, Julia, better for the defense. I think the defense did a great job establishing, again, those hints of reasonable doubt. The fact that there were gummies, the fact that Kouri was disappointed there were gummies. They were in her luggage and she was, you know, it was a joke, but she was still upsetting. I think she was a great witness for the defense. It humanized Kouri. You know, everyone is talking about how her reactions after the death weren't appropriate. Mistaking said it best, that this was a normal wake, that they were trying to make them happier because of the children. It humanized Kouri in a way we had not seen, Julia, since this trial started.
Why do you think the state brought her up, knowing that we have, you know, the opportunity for the defense to do a direct?
Julia, that is the million-dollar question. I'm not sure. You know, it's funny because every time a prosecutor brings a witness, you know it's successful when you know the direction it's going. There was no direction here. I don't know if it had something to do with the handwriting issue. Maybe they had everything on this that they wanted her to identify the handwriting. And once that went away, they probably just should have dismissed her. I think it was the wrong move for the prosecution.
So much happening in this trial. Silva, we appreciate your analysis. Thank you for coming on. We've got to let you go now, but when we come back, Cody Thomas is going to be here. He's going to pivot to Michigan. That was the last witness in Utah. So in Michigan, the verdict watch has been going on in the hidden murder of Dee Warner trial. He'll bring you some of those closing arguments. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Court TV.